This is the 30,000-foot view of the 365 Freedom ecosystem. If you're tired of scattered inputs and ready for a structured sequence, you're in the right place.
Precisely. And today isn't about hype. It certainly isn't about the next big thing. It is strictly about architecture.
Right.
We are conducting an executive onboarding, effectively auditing the system design of what we call the 365 Freedom engine.
And before we get into the schematics, we really need to set the stage here. We need to identify the core friction points in the current business landscape.
Root issues.
Exactly. Because looking at the data, we see this massive problem with what I call scattered inputs. You have creators, entrepreneurs, people who are genuinely ambitious, but they are absolutely drowning right now.
They're drowning in random tips.
Right.
They're suffering from shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Taking advice that completely lacks context.
Yeah.
It's what I call entropy by information.
Entropy by information, that's the try everything and hope something sticks methodology.
Exactly.
And honestly, it is exhausting just to watch, let alone to actually experience. You see someone trying to build a funnel one week.
Launch a podcast the next.
Right, and then they're trading crypto the week after that.
It's total chaos.
Ugh.
And that brings us to the core mission briefing for this session. We need to define the 365 Freedom proposition very clearly.
Yeah.
This is not a collection of random tactics.
It's not a course.
No, not in the traditional sense where you just watch a few videos and get a certificate. It is a documented start-to-scale engine.
And that distinction is vital. This session is an executive onboarding. Our goal here is to audit the architecture of the system, the blueprint.
Before you commit to the daily execution.
Right, before you, the listener, actually start building. We want you to see the map before you start driving.
Exactly. And we are identifying the target audience right now. When we say you, we are referring to a very specific profile, even though it spans a wide demographic range.
It could be a beginner.
Yes. You might be a beginner who is totally paralyzed by overwhelm. You don't know where to start. You're afraid to fail. You're confused by the tech. You're basically standing at the bottom of the mountain looking up at the summit, just frozen.
Or, conversely, you might be an advanced operator.
Right.
You're already making money, maybe 6 figures, but you've hit this invisible ceiling. You are working 14 hours a day just to maintain what you've built.
And that is the fascinating part of the source material.
Yeah.
Whether you are that beginner or that pro, the root cause of the friction is identical.
It's identical.
It's the lack of a complete start-to-scale framework.
It sounds so counterintuitive, though, that a beginner and an expert would have the exact same problem. Usually we think the beginner needs basics and the expert needs advanced tactics.
That is the common misconception. But the expert who is stuck usually skipped the foundational architecture entirely.
He built a shack.
Exactly. They built a lean-to shack that happened to make money, and now they're trying to add a second story to a shack. It simply won't hold. Both of them lack the sequence.
I want to emphasize the from the trenches aspect of this, too. The information we're discussing today is not theoretical.
Not at all.
This isn't something cooked up in a university lecture hall. This is documented from a system built explicitly to solve the cycle of frustration.
And that cycle is incredibly painful. It is working hard, but seeing the exact same year of progress repeated over and over again.
Yes.
It is feeling overwhelmed, yet understimulated.
That phrase from the intake documentation really stuck with me. Overwhelmed yet understimulated. It's such a specific type of burnout.
It is.
You're busy, you're doing things, your calendar is completely full, but you aren't seeing the needle move. You're literally bored by your own busyness.
That is the absolute hallmark of a broken pattern. And that leads us directly into our strategic diagnosis. Why does most business education fail?
We need to analyze the traditional approach.
Right, to understand why the failure rate is so abnormally high.
Let's break that down. What does the traditional approach actually look like?
It usually follows a 4-step pattern that reliably leads to disaster. Step 1. You learn strategies and tactics. You buy the course on Facebook ads, or you watch the video on funnel building. You consume the how-to.
Which feels productive.
Very productive. You feel like you're learning.
But it's actually procrastination disguised as research.
Exactly. Then comes step 2. You try to implement them. You try to bolt this brand new Ferrari engine onto your bicycle.
And step 3?
Step 3 is where the friction really hits. You hope your mindset catches up to the new, intense activity you are doing. You are trying to execute CEO-level decisions with an employee-level identity.
Which leads to step 4.
Self-sabotage.
Because you skip the foundation.
Precisely. The psychological immune system kicks in and rejects the new behavior because it fundamentally conflicts with who you believe you are.
It creates a massive emotional toll. I mean, for beginners, this broken pattern manifests as pure confusion. They are spinning their wheels. But for the pros, it feels like stagnation. You're working harder, but the revenue isn't scaling because the system is fragile.
Correct. And this brings us to the identity-first logic. This is the core differentiator of the 365 Freedom ecosystem. The model here is identity first, then systems, then results.
I want to quote the source material here because this is a critical insight. It says, "You're trying to build an empire with the identity of someone who doesn't believe they deserve one."
That is the crux of the entire issue. You simply cannot build a business that exceeds your self-concept.
Right.
If your internal operating system is set to employ someone who waits for instructions, trades time for money, seeks permission, you cannot run an empire. The system will reject the growth.
It's like a thermostat.
Exactly like a thermostat. If you are set to 70 degrees and you heat up to 90 degrees of success, the AC will kick in automatically to cool you back down to 70.
That's a terrifying thought, that our own minds are cooling us down to our comfort level of mediocrity.
It is biological. We crave homeostasis. So the reversal of this dynamic is the 365 Freedom approach. Step one is becoming the person who naturally executes.
So we aren't forcing the action, we are changing the actor.
Yes. Step two is building systems that align with that new identity. And step three is where the actual magic happens. Actions become inevitable, not forced.
Inevitable, I love that word in this context. It implies that you don't need willpower anymore because it's just who you are.
Exactly. If you identify as a runner, you run. You don't have to argue with yourself every single morning. If you identify as an empire builder, you build systems. It becomes your natural state. Willpower is a battery. It drains.
But identity is a generator.
It sustains.
The documentation outlines an identity shift process, and I think it's important to clarify here, this isn't fake it till you make it.
No.
This isn't standing in front of a mirror shouting affirmations until you delusionally believe them.
No, it is a structured psychological progression. It involves 4 distinct phases. The first is awareness. You simply notice the gap between who you are currently and who you need to be. You have to catch yourself in the act of being small.
Just realizing, hey, I'm thinking like an employee right now. I'm waiting for someone to tell me what to do.
Precisely. Awareness creates the choice. The second phase is experimentation. This is the trying on phase.
That's uncomfortable.
Very. You are making decisions from the perspective of your future self, which feels completely unnatural at first. It's like writing with your non-dominant hand.
Like wearing a new suit that hasn't been tailored yet. You feel like an imposter.
And that is normal. The documentation stresses that feeling like an imposter is a sign of growth, not failure. Then comes phase 3, integration.
The new behaviors start feeling natural.
Yes.
Yeah.
You aren't fighting the old patterns as much. The neural pathways are actually forming.
And finally, mastery. You simply are the entrepreneur. The business is a natural expression of you.
This foundational logic sets the stage for the actual machinery of the system. We've covered the why, now let's look at the what. The documentation details a 7-pillar framework.
Let's get into the gears.
These are the gears of the engine.
Yeah.
And it is crucial to understand that these are not isolated topics. You don't do pillar 1 and then forget it to move to pillar 2.
They are interconnected.
Deeply. The daily newsletter, which is the delivery mechanism of this system, rotates through these 7 pillars to ensure balanced development. It prevents you from having a massive bicep and a tiny leg.
Let's walk through them. Pillar 1 is MoneyMind. We touched on identity, but this goes much deeper.
MoneyMind is the absolute foundation. It shifts the internal operating system. It moves you from employee thinking to entrepreneur identity. But more specifically, it moves you from scarcity to abundance systems.
Abundance systems, that's an interesting phrase. It suggests that abundance isn't just a feeling, it's an actual structure.
Correct. Most people think abundance is an emotion. I feel abundant today. But feelings are weather. Systems are climate.
Wow, yeah.
The goal here is to move from motivation dependence, which is fickle and totally unreliable, to structure reliance. You build things that work, regardless of how you feel on a Tuesday morning.
So an abundance system might be an automated savings protocol or a reinvestment strategy that happens automatically in the background.
Exactly. It removes the emotional volatility from the resource management entirely.
Moving to pillar 2, TrafficTracks. This is about visibility and audience. But the documentation redefines visibility. It's not just, hey, look at me.
No, it is the shift from creating for yourself to creating for discovery. It's moving from scattered, random posting to strategic content pillars. Most people post what they want to talk about. Successful operators post what their audience needs to discover.
The goal isn't vanity metrics. It's building an audience that knows, likes, and trusts you enough to actually buy. It's about being discoverable by the right people.
Which leads right into Pillar 3, WealthWorks. This focuses on skills and capabilities.
I found the distinction here very sharp in the text. Skills without systems create dependency. Systems without skills create fragility. Let's unpack that.
That is a key insight. You can be very skilled. Let's say you were the world's best graphic designer. But if you don't have a system for client acquisition, invoicing, and delivery, you have to do everything yourself.
That's a job, not a business.
Exactly. You are the bottleneck.
And the reverse.
If you have a system, say a drop shipping store, but no skill in marketing or product selection, the system breaks the moment the algorithm changes or the supplier quits. You have no internal capability to pivot.
So the shift here is from random skill acquisition, learning a little bit of Photoshop, a little bit of copy, a little bit of coding, to strategic capability building.
Exactly. It's about commanding premium value in the market, moving from trading time for money to creating leveraged income. You stack skills that compound on each other.
Pillar 4 is ThriveTime. This one tackles the hustle culture myth head on.
It does. There is a pervasive misconception that freedom is the absence of structure. I want to be an entrepreneur so I can do whatever I want, whenever I want.
That is a recipe for chaos.
Total chaos. That is not freedom. That is unemployment with overhead.
And documentation argues that freedom is the presence of the right structure.
Yes. The shift is from reactive scheduling, waking up and checking email to see what's on fire, to proactive time design, moving from busy work to breakthrough work.
The goal is working on the business, not just in it. That's a classic concept, but ThriveTime operationalizes it. It gives you the permission to block out time where you are unreachable so you can actually build the machine.
Then we have Pillar 5, FreedomFlow. This is automation and systems.
The rule here is every problem solved manually today must become a system that solves itself tomorrow.
That is the golden rule of scaling. If you answer the exact same email twice, you have failed. The third time, it must be a template or an FAQ or an automated bot.
You must shift from being the bottleneck to being the architect, from manual processes to automated workflows.
Otherwise, you prevent drift and confusion. The goal is rule-based operations. When the business runs on rules, it doesn't need your constant presence.
Pillar 6 is ScaleSale. This is about sales and scaling, and the immediate focus here is removing the ick factor.
The ick factor paralyzes very good people. They have great product, but they feel like a scammer when they ask for money.
I think a lot of listeners resonate with that. They love their product, but they absolutely hate selling it.
That is because they view sales as convincing. ScaleSale shifts the perspective from convincing to connecting. Sales should be a natural invitation to transformation. If you believe your product helps, you have a moral obligation to offer it.
If you truly believe your product helps, offering it is a service, withholding it is selfish.
Exactly. The goal is turning random revenue into predictable income systems, moving from feast and famine to a predictable, robust pipeline.
Finally, Pillar 7, StorySell. This is storytelling and branding.
This is the narrative glue that holds the other 6 pillars together. Without story, you are a commodity. With story, you are a brand.
The shift here is from listing features and benefits to telling transformation stories.
And importantly, the story isn't about you. It's about the audience's journey. You are the guide, not the hero. You are Yoda, not Luke Skywalker. The goal is a cohesive brand narrative rather than scattered messaging.
So we have the engine, we have the gears, but an engine doesn't work if you just throw the parts in a pile on the floor. You need assembly instructions. You need sequence.
This is the strategy section of our session, the GPS analogy.
The blueprint document we're reviewing acts as the GPS overview. It shows the destination and the major highways.
But the daily newsletter provides the turn-by-turn directions.
And sequence is the unacknowledged secret of success. Most people fail not because they are learning the wrong things, but because they are learning the right things in the wrong order.
Can I give an example of that? A concrete example of right thing, wrong time.
Please do.
The trap is learning sales funnels, which is essentially day 300 or pillar 6 material before establishing identity consistency, which is day 1 material.
So you build the funnel.
You build a high-pressure sales funnel. Technically, it is flawless, but you still have the identity of someone who is afraid to ask for money. You are terrified of rejection, so you self-sabotage. You don't drive traffic to it. Or when a lead actually comes in, you panic.
You break the machine because your identity cannot support the weight of the system.
Precisely. So the solution is the engineered sequence. Day 1's identity shift makes day two's audience insight possible.
It brings us to the compound effect. The philosophy here is microshifts. Transformation doesn't happen in a single leap. You don't wake up one day and announce, I am now an empire builder. It happens through daily compounded actions.
The blueprint breaks down levels of sequencing. There is daily micro-sequencing, identity to audience to skill. Then there are weekly integration cycles.
Yes, the week moves from foundation to deepening to breakthrough, and then monthly transformation phases. It is fractal. The pattern holds at every single level.
Let's look at the timeline of transformation. We need to manage expectations here for the listener. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a 365-day build.
Let's walk through the 4 phases. Phase 1 is the foundation. This is months 1 through 3. We call this identity ignition.
And the breakdown here is fascinating. It says 90% of the change is internal and only 10% is visible.
That is critical. This is where most people quit. They are working hard, changing their mindset, building habits, getting up early, writing every day. But the bank account hasn't moved yet. The analytics are completely flat.
It's like bamboo roots growing underground. If you dig it up to check if it's growing, you kill it.
Then comes phase 2, development, months 4 through 6, freedom frameworks.
Now you see about 30% visible change. Skills start to compound. You are getting visibly better at the craft. The market starts to respond. You get a few early wins.
Phase 3, expansion, months 7 through 9, lead flow momentum.
Now we are at 60% visible change. Traffic surges. Systems optimize. The machine is starting to really hum. You are no longer pushing the boulder uphill. It is starting to roll on its own.
And phase 4, mastery, months 10 through 12, authority lock-in.
90% visible change. You become the industry leader. The internal work is fully manifested externally. You are now the person you visualized in month 1.
I want to pause on something you mentioned earlier, the quitting point. The documentation highlights a discomfort zone specifically in weeks 5 through 8.
Yes. This is the absolute danger zone. It is the period of identity stretching. The honeymoon phase of starting something new has worn off. The dopamine is gone. But the real results haven't arrived yet.
It's the valley of death.
It is. Old patterns fight back viciously. Your brain says, this is hard, this is uncomfortable. Let's go back to doing what we used to do. Surviving this phase, weeks 5 through 8, is the critical dependency for the rest of the year. If you quit here, you reset the clock to 0.
Speaking of dependencies, let's move to the rules of engagement. The blueprint comes with a literal warning label.
It does. It clarifies that subscription does not guarantee success. You can buy a gym membership, but if you don't lift the weights, you don't get muscles. The system requires specific conditions to work.
Dependency 1 is daily consistency over perfection.
A mediocre action taken consistently beats a perfect action taken sporadically. Momentum is harder to restart than to maintain. If you miss a day, don't try to be perfect the next day. Just get back to the sequence. Do not break the chain.
Dependency 2 is implementation over consumption.
This differentiates the collector mentality from the builder mentality. Are you collecting information to feel smart, or are you building a system to get results? The transformation happens in the doing. Reading about push-ups doesn't make you strong.
Dependency 3 is process trust over outcome attachment.
This is incredibly hard for high achievers. You must trust the sequence. As we said, compound effects are totally invisible at first. Judging the system by day 10 results is like screaming at a seed because it isn't a tree yet. You have to detach from the immediate outcome and fall in love with the daily process.
Dependency 4 is long-term vision over short-term gratification.
Every decision must be filtered through the 365-day vision, not immediate comfort. Do I watch Netflix now, or do I do my 15-minute input? The short term says Netflix. The vision says input. You have to be the parent to your own ambition.
The documentation sums up why this system works using a FABB framework analysis. Let's break that down briefly.
FAB stands for feature, advantage, benefit, and benefit of the benefit. It's a logic check for the value proposition.
Okay, let's run it.
The feature is the daily identity transformation. The advantage is that it builds unstoppable consistency. The benefit is that you finally follow through something you may have struggled with for years. And the benefit of the benefit, your entire business finally grows.
It connects the micro action to the macro result. It connects reading an email to building an empire.
Exactly. It completely closes the loop.
So we have unpacked the logic, the pillars, the sequence, and the requirements. Let's look at the final strategic thought here. This offer, the 365 Freedom ecosystem, positions itself as the only identity-first, start-to-scale system in the space.
It is explicitly designed to turn overwhelmed creators into unstoppable empire builders.
Yeah.
But remember, the blueprint we discussed today is just the map. It is static. It is a PDF on a screen. The engine that drives the car is the daily newsletter.
That daily touch point is what keeps the sequence alive.
Correct. Without the daily turn-by-turn, the map is just a poster on the wall. You need the pulse.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means that if you are feeling that friction, that overwhelm, or that stagnation, it's not because you aren't capable, it's because you are operating out of sequence.
And you are likely operating with an outdated identity. You are running old software on new hardware.
And before we close, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Building on all this source material, what if your current level of success is actually exactly what your current identity is programmed to tolerate? If you don't change the programming, no new tactic will ever bypass that firewall.
That is the ultimate bottleneck. Fix the code, fix the business.
Your transformation begins with the daily sequence. Join the community at 365 Freedom online to secure your direction. This has been a 365 Freedom strategy session.